Hi friends, welcome back. Today's video is going to be a bit more personal. This video will be going into detail about anxiety and depression. Please be warned to anyone who has sensitivities to this topic. Now, I debated to myself whether or not to make this video just me talking in front of a camera, but I decided a drawing video would be better. Art has always been my safe space, and I feel much more comfortable putting an art in the video rather than me sitting in front of a camera all nervous and jittery. So that's why you'll be seeing a cute drawing video instead of me. So, with that being said, let's begin. So, I want to say that I was completely normal from a child from ages 1 to 11. I did have a couple of special needs issues, but I never had depression or obsessive issues. Something in my brain broke when I was about 12 or 13. So I remember the exact day my OCD issue started. I want to say that the following part is 100% my fault. I would beat myself up over this mistake for years. Nowadays, I don't hit myself as hard because it was so long ago. I think at least 10 years at this point. I was very young when I did this. When I was a kid, I got into a fight with another kid. I will say that this is my fault. I shouldn't have done what I did. And if you're seeing this video, I'm sorry for what I did. It was not right. But when I went home and tried to recover from what just happened, for some reason, the memory of the fight would not stop playing in my head over and over again like a record player on loop. I brushed it off at the time as me feeling guilty for what I did, but it never went away. From that day forward, I would obsess over things that I'd done wrong. It's arguments with people I love, or even worse, things that aren't even my fault. I honestly thought this obsessive phase would go away, but it never did. When I was in middle school, I began to obsess, so much to the point where I began to get depressive. I obsessed so much to the point where my self-worth went down. A lot. Something that I still struggle with today. I began to feel rejected, unworthy, below everyone at all times. I felt like my friends didn't care about me. It was unbearable. Coupled with the obsessiveness I felt, I began to have my first unalive thought when I was in 6th grade. Something that I would keep a secret before I entered 9th grade. I believed I would have gotten in trouble if I talked about it. I held in all these thoughts of unaliving until I physically couldn't hold it in anymore. I talked to my parents about it a few days before I started 9th grade. They cried and made me promise to never do it, and I promised I wouldn't. My parents are very loving, and none of my issues are their fault. I saw my first therapist when I was in high school. I was recommended by my school therapist to see one. My mom took me out of school early for the first appointment. The therapist was in a place that looked like a hospital. Inside was a huge fountain that caught my eye for some reason, and inside was a therapist room with a lot of toys. My doctor did therapy with children too. I liked this. It made me feel safe. Even today when I go to a therapist, I prefer to have someone with a room filled with toys surrounding me. It made me feel less antsy and less anxious. What we focused on in therapy was activity therapy. What I mean was therapy where we did something to express my emotions. This varied from painting about how I felt to demonstrating in a sandbox about how I was feeling. I would take sand and I would say it represented my anxiety and lack of self-worth. I would then proceed to cover the doll with sand, so much sand that it covered the doll and you couldn't see anything anymore. This represented my hatred for myself, covering and smothering me, to the point where I could not breathe. I felt like this was the best description of what was going on with me. In high school, I joined the theater department for 2 semesters. I had a lot of fun, I won't lie. We traveled a lot and competed. Even though I was an alternate in one act play, it was incredibly fun to watch the plays. With that being said, I had a huge self-esteem issue when I was there. Every time I was rejected, I couldn't help but feel it was personal, like I did something wrong as a person rather than an actor. This, coupled with the obsessive thoughts, caused me to suffer a lot, and people noticed. They were there constantly asking me if I was okay, and I would just break down. They never knew why I was breaking down, but if you're watching this, now you know. Thoughts of worthlessness was overwhelming. When I watched people get awards, I hated myself more and more. By this time, my therapist had retired. It would take me years to find another therapist. It was a pretty dark spot in my life. When I was in junior and senior year, I thought a lot about self-harm. I kept all of these thoughts to myself. I thought I wouldn't stand a chance in life. That life would uncontrollably get worse the older I got. That my future was black and there was nothing more than that. It was unbearable. When I was in senior year, I started this program where they would take me out of class once a week to do talk therapy with others who also suffered from depression. It was my first time getting exposed to group therapy, and I enjoyed it. I talked about my emotions, which typically helps come to ease with these feelings, rather than struggle with them alone, which is I think my worst way of doing it was being alone. By this time, I started taking my first antidepressant pill. I didn't know what to expect, but I was kind of hoping for the best. My mom was hesitant about me starting on these pills, but I think she caught on that I needed them. With that being said, I've also been on and off a lot of medication in my life. I talked to my psychiatrist, and they recommended to me to start PHP, Partial Hospitalization Program. It's basically where we go to a mental hospital, and I was for about 4 or 5 hours a day, and do talk therapy along with others who also had issues that I also had. It was nice to know that I wasn't alone in my thinking. It made me remember that my feelings are not invalid. However, I was pretty honest enough where they wanted to switch me over to stay in the hospital instead of going home. That they were worried about me, and yes, I was in a mental hospital for 2 weeks, but that was a story for another video. When I got out of the hospital, I went to PHP for a few weeks again. I had not since been in a hospital, but I've been pretty close to being admitted again. After a year, I felt worse again, like everything in my life was over again. Then I let everyone down. My doctor recommended TMS for the first time, and that's also going to be another video for another day, but I done TMS twice as of now. It might sound scary, but it sounds scarier than it actually is. I think that's where we're going to wrap it up for today. I know this video was different from my usual ones, and I'm sorry about that, but I need to get this off my chest to heal. Thank you for joining me, and make sure to subscribe if you like this video and the art in the video. Let me know if I could do anything that will improve my videos, and catch you all later.